again. I see the room is slowly clearing, but there's still some people here that are interested. Enthusiasm. Yeah, my name is Jan. I've been here before, a couple talks ago, and today I have with me Ignacio and Andreas. And I think I want to give everybody the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Yeah, thanks, Jan, and good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I just recognized that we are not standing up in the order as we are listed here. So my name is Andreas Schieder. I'm the third one on the list, but standing here in second position. And yeah, as you see, I'm part of the Deutsche Telekom family. I'm working in group technology. And they're in charge for network function cloudification. That's one part. And the second is that I'm looking after OCloud within our ORAN program.
Hello. Hello, hello. Yes, I am Ignacio Gonzalez. I am part of the Red Hat family. I'm looking after mobile network use cases, business development, whatever you're going to call it. So RAN, core, IMS, and everything in between. 5 years working at Red Hat, and before that I was part of the Vodafone family in different countries with different roles, and I am pleased to be here.
Great to be here with you. My name is Jan. I think I haven't introduced myself before. I work for a very small company here in Berlin, BISDN, and we largely focus on software-defined networking, hence the name, and hardware offloading for that and all the things around this. Today we want to talk about OCloud and how open the OCloud is. The first time I was asked to do this panel here as a moderator, I think Katja asked me, can you moderate the session for OCloud? And I asked, what is OCloud? And Katja had a pretty smart answer. She said, you know, it's the cloud where ORAN runs on. I mean, it's a good answer to that. But I would really love to dig a bit deeper here and try to figure out what exactly does this mean, that's the cloud where ORAN runs on. And I think maybe, Andreas, you could start and give us an introduction what the memorandum of understanding here is between a couple of different telcos in the market. What is the OCloud? What does the ORAN Alliance say here?
Okay, so I'm not going into the details of what the ORAN MOU is saying about OCloud, but I think you're all aware that there are a set of requirements on OCloud. Yeah? But starting point, of course, is ORAN Alliance, and ORAN Alliance defines what OCloud is. And as Jan has quickly summarized, yeah, indeed, it's the platform that's underneath all the applications that we have been talking about, CU, DU, RIG as well. They even talk about virtualized RUs, but that's still under study, and I think we can neglect it so far. So the characteristics of OCloud, first of all, it's a bit misleading to talk about a cloud, because it's not a cloud. I would call it an execution platform. It's not open to any kind of applications. It's very much tailored and optimized for a particular use case and for a particular application. That's the ORAN application and the elements there. So it's not a cloud where you have resource sharing and you can basically run any of the applications. It's a very optimized stack, execution stack. But it's not just an execution stack. It also has management components. What ORAN Alliance says, it basically has an infrastructure management service and a deployment management service. Infrastructure management basically means that you have functionality available that basically controls the setup of the stack that you need to run the applications. That starts from preparing the server, installing operating system, installing Kubernetes, and then making it available for the application deployment. There's one important interface that OCloud exposes, that's the O2 interface towards the SMO, where it basically gets orders to start the deployment and start the preparation basically of a site, and then also coordinate the deployment. That's one part. The second is that there's also observability functionality, so you have monitoring functionality of the liveness of the platform as such, not on application level, but basically on operating system, hardware, and also Kubernetes level, which is also upstream or sent upstreams to the SMO. So it basically, for us, it divides up into three main components. It's the the stack as such where the components are executed on. It's an automation framework which basically implements a zero-touch, preferably take-into-service process that prepares basically the hardware and then ends at basically a running CU or DU or whatever application you're going to host on it. And it's an observability stack that basically provides all the observability data that the SMO consumes.
That's quite a lot of things. No. I'm quite happy with the answer. I think there's quite a lot of different pieces in there that are important to get started with this discussion. What is the O-Cloud and how is it actually different from any other cloud environment? Because I think we've been seeing cloud environments for a very, very long time now. And now there's just a new word saying O-Cloud. So there's an O for ORAN or open. I guess it's ORAN in this context. We have already seen enough open cloud environments here. But what exactly is the difference here? I think, Andreas, you touched a bit on the part where it's specific to a certain degree for like the use case. But how exactly is it specific for this use case? How exactly is it different here? I don't know, maybe Ignacio, you have an idea how you would see that?
The way that I try to summarize this is you need a cloud with the ORAN Alliance steroids. Okay, what does it mean? We don't need an IT cloud is something that we left right behind. Is way more advanced. We need to have things like synchronization. That if you talk with the IT guys, they say, what? We need to have the O2 interface. We need to have all of the features related to be able to the scalability. So we are talking about thousands of deployments nationwide. So we have all different type of elements. Several of them are coming from the telco world. Others are more specific coming from the ORAN to build this platform. And in this platform, what we're going to do is, again, trying to be the glue, to simplify between what we have underneath, servers, accelerators, GPUs, CPUs, and what we're going to have on top, which are applications, the DU, the CU, the RICs, etc., etc. So this is what we can say when we talk about the O-Cloud. It's not properly a cloud. It's a platform fully designed to host the ORAN Alliance, let's say, components.
Okay. I think both of you, like in the answers, have really focused a bit on the features in the end, right? There's interfaces that are somehow coming from the ORAN Alliance. There's like this O2 thing, which will somehow control it and basically use this framework, the O-Cloud, to run the use cases on top. There's I think another dimension which is quite interesting when looking at the goals of the ORAN Alliance for this, and this might be more in the idea of multi-vendor environments, right? So it's not only just like running one continuous framework on top of the O-Cloud, but there's a very specific idea of bringing cloud economics to this thing and also allowing multiple vendors to run on this. So how does this influence maybe the specific O-Cloud that we're looking for here? Whoever feels like it, really.
Okay. We can now endlessly discuss this. Yeah? So, but I want to stress that what we have been talking. So, ORAN is about disaggregation, and disaggregation happens in two dimensions. We have talked a lot about the horizontal disaggregation so far. Yeah? So basically to have CU, DU, RU decomposed and then integrating it later on again into a functioning solution. We also have a vertical disaggregation, which means basically taking cloud paradigms and concepts on board. And here we would like, and although we agree O-Cloud is not a true cloud because it misses some of the characteristics, it still is a platform that is independent of the application, or should be independent of the application that is running on. For sure, as we said before, it is optimized for that particular application type, but should not be restricted to a certain CUDU implementation. So that is what we are looking for. So this disaggregation in this vertical space means basically that we as an operator would be able basically to have an O-Cloud platform in the end that is able to run different CUDU implementations without the need to change many things underneath. That's the wishful thinking for the time being, or at the time being, because we see all the dependencies. We see that as O-Cloud is a very specialized solution, we have hardware-specific components, or specific hardware components, let's say like this. So it's not just commercial off-the-shelf hardware. We have the different accelerator choices, which are not harmonized, and which, by choosing a certain concept, restricts the possibility to host different CUDU implementations. In the other hand is that what we discussed so far a lot about certifying that the different now horizontal disaggregated components in the end work again together. We see also this kind of integration and not certification yet, but basically also in this vertical domain. So CUDU software is usually validated against a very particular stack. And we see very particular requirements on operating system versions, even variants, Linux distributions used, Kubernetes plugins used, Kubernetes extension used, and so on. Very little freedom to alter and deviate from that. If we choose so, of course, we would need to also consider that validation efforts come on top, which we actually want to avoid. So that wish of having a platform, a truly disaggregated, so O-Cloud really disaggregated from the application as such, is not yet there, but that is something that we would like to see and where we are working for.
Yeah, this is what we are seeing when we are working with the different RAM vendors and we want to integrate their workloads, the UCU, on our platform. We are seeing different requirements coming from different RAM vendors, and on top of this, if you have to take into consideration the hardware that is underneath, again, everything is slightly more and more complex. So we are, yes, rooting for having this kind of fully standardized solution, including the DUs, the CUs, and etc. But so far, I'm afraid we are not there.
Okay. I think it sounds really cool from the idea. But it also seems there's quite a lot of very specific things that this O-Cloud needs to provide so that we can run those things on. So I guess a easy follow-up question, or maybe an obvious one, would be, where can I get one if I want one?
Well, okay, so we are on a development path, definitely. So you can get it basically from the CUDU suppliers. That is also what Deutsche Telekom has seen, and what we are currently implementing is you get a stack, or well, in that case, let's say an O-Cloud solution together with the CUDU. So it's pre-integrated. That's also what we wanted initially. Just to avoid that we integrate later on a Kubernetes stack and an operating system towards an application. So you can get it from the ISVs. You can get it, of course, from people like Red Hat. Where maybe we can become a bit more independent of the CUDU that runs on top. And last but not least, also of course hyperscalers have their offerings about O-Cloud, and they are also investing in that business.
Yeah, so it is. There's no a marketplace where you can find it. Also, for instance, if you go to the tip, in the tip you have a section where you can have certain open community software. We try to deploy and upload one version of our platform there just to play around. It's an open source, so that's another way that you can get it. Are you going to get an O-Cloud? Maybe not, but at least start to play around. It could work. So if you want to find a place, go there for instance.
Okay, but that, like, specifically what you said, Andreas, sounds to me like the idea or what we're working for is something like getting the O-Cloud as a turnkey solution, basically. So something that is deployable and where we can just put our workloads on and then we don't have to worry about it. It will like manage itself somehow, or the framework will manage itself. And that is usually something that is only provided, or at least from my experience from the last 15 years, from a distributor that does all of this integration, all of this turnkey solution product thing for you. But coming back to the topic, is O-Cloud truly open? The question then becomes, will this be open, or are we just like closing it up again to provide this turnkey solution?
You mean the O-Cloud as such being open and not just open to host different applications on top? So if we look under the hood into O-Cloud, we divide it up into 3 different elements. I think I mentioned it initially as well. So we have the stack as such, the execution environment. We call it the execution environment. And we have an automation solution, which is for us independent of the execution environment as such. And we have an observability solution that can also be independent. We are highly advocating to keep these elements also independent inside the O-Cloud, so that you could have the option to even exchange the execution environment if, for example, a particular COD vendor requires a certain execution environment, that you can change it without changing the automation solution. The automation solution is something that is at the heart of our work, because operations teams are basically sitting in front of these automation solutions. The execution environment as such, which hosts the COD, is validated by the applications, and also performance is guaranteed by them. So we might need a certain flexibility to also adhere to their requirements, so not to be too restricted in predefining a certain execution environment. And the third component, the observability solution, what we are at least here at Deutsche Telekom doing is that we are talking about RAN, but the complete virtualization journey started in Core. And if we see a possibility to harmonize observability solutions between Core and RAN, which we currently see, and even use or reuse solutions that we have already available, that would be a nice component, or a nice characteristic as well, which we are trying to, really realize. So open in the sense that these 3 components can be exchanged, interchanged. That is something we are working for and what we are heading for or trying to achieve. Yeah.
Okay, maybe specifically for you to add on that, like I would love to hear the Red Hat perspective from the side where Red Hat is obviously heavily invested in open source, right? So a lot of the projects that we see as solutions from Red Hat have a very big open source side. So when we talk about a potential future offering from Red Hat for the O-Cloud, where do you see this line being drawn between the open source and
the problem, as Andreas was mentioning, is you need different components. Yes, Kubernetes, open source, is there, but you need more than this. You need observability, you need register, you need different components that you need to put all together. And the secret recipe here is integrating all together to work in the telco grade standards. So, as I said, it will be mainly based on open source, but putting all these together to make sure that they are first compliant with the open source, let's say, mindset, also compliant with the O-RAN Alliance standards, also with the requirements coming from the telcos. This is what is taking some time, all right? So I think the technology is there. Putting all these pieces rightly together is what is taking more time, I would say. But I have to say that it has to be based on open source. I think right now, the majority of the features that we have, they are coming from the upstream projects. And I think everybody agrees now. So this is not a problem. It's open in that case. It is based on open source. The magic should happen putting everything together. And also trying to find synergies, not just only with the RAN, whatever you can do that also valid for a 5G core, in terms of the platform, in terms of observability, in terms of network efficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It will be valid points for telcos to find this economy of scale they want to have. Probably you will have an O cloud for RAN. I will have certain similarities what you can do for the core, let's say.
So talking about open source solutions or open source components being integrated into this O-Cloud solution. There is, I guess, one project that I heard about a couple of years ago at an open source conference called Silva, which basically has a headline something like the telco cloud. Because I guess a big idea behind that, and there's big operators standing behind that, is to build a cloud environment that can host telco workloads. So that sounds relatively similar to what we've been discussing. How do you see that?
But very quick to me, Silva is a VIP club for telcos to create a cloud, which makes sense because they have certain specific requirements. But usually when you put a standardizations requirements for the telco together with an upstream project, the real way to maybe get it better is going this telco to the upstream projects and try to influence. Sometimes we have to do it. So we have the request coming from Deutsche Telekom. We go to Kubernetes, say, hey, we need to have whatever. Okay, we're promoting for that. But if the telcos are also there, it will be better. So Silva is trying to get this telco cloud. It's not a specific for RAN. Could work for RAN, could work for core, could work for whatever. But making sure that all of the requirements coming from telco are fulfilled.
Anything you want to add? So I can add something. So, well, first of all, yes, agree. And Deutsche Telekom is supporting Silva. Yes, right. We have also code contributions into Silva. For O-Cloud, we have, although, well, Silva has communicated that they also target O-Cloud as a use case for them. We are not yet considering this because I think we are, as an operator, are on a journey. So we have started, so the first O-RAN RFP was basically asking for an integrated solution. So O-Cloud plus CODU software pre-integrated, so a turnkey solution across everything. What we are targeting now is really, I think Petter Ledl has also talked about this before, components, and O-Cloud is a separate component, so we want to disaggregate here. That's the next step. Maybe later, then decide on further open source components inside O-Cloud and then integrate this. So, but currently, we are not yet there to consider it.
Okay, speaking about this journey that is kind of ahead of us here, and speaking about openness being a very integral part to like build this ecosystem and work together with different vendors, with different telcos on top of the O-Cloud, but maybe also to provide this O-Cloud. What is it that, and that's more a question towards the Deutsche Telekom and Red Hat perspective here, what is it that you think the vendors or the telcos can do to drive this openness and this like O-Cloud implementation in the coming years?
Okay, let me start with, and then I can add on that. So unfortunately, we are in a worse situation when it comes to the vertical disaggregation than for the horizontal disaggregation. The reason is that the O2 interface is not yet, still not defined to, well, a first release up to, so a complete set of requirements that we could basically use to point and say please implement, and then we have a choice, basically. This is of particular importance because Deutsche Telekom has decided to implement the SMO in-house, and as I said, the O2 interface is towards the SMO, and having a stable definition of the O2 interface would be really helpful. We don't see it at all yet, so the interfaces are proprietary, but still open and documented, of course, yeah, because otherwise you could not integrate, but it would already be a major step forward, which we are trying, and this is what we also from Deutsche Telekom are doing in supporting Working Group 6 of O-RAN Alliance, that we finally get to a complete set of standards for the O2 interface. That would be a first major achievement that we should strive for.
That's the main problem that we have right now. We need to have a proper defined IMS O2 interface in order to see what is coming next and in order to start. We know 65 use cases, we know what we're going to do with it, but the standardization there is not finished.
Okay, given that I guess there will be people in the working group 6 of the O-RAN Alliance working on this specific thing of like defining the interface, how we want to control it, and given that there will be a bunch of projects out there trying to implement towards all the specific needs that I guess the telco is, or the different telcos are trying to write down towards the O-Cloud. There's also another side to that, and that's really this part of like how can we enable maybe the people that write workloads on top of that? Is there something that telcos or vendors would be able to do to support them in writing those?
Well, I get the feeling that telcos, they can influence way more than CAS layers providers. We tried. So and we exchanged a lot of information because even for us, for Red Hat, at the beginning, all these telco RAN applications, maybe they were not our biggest expertise. Now I think the situation has changed. And we exchanged ways of working and putting together lesson learned, like how they can be more cloud native when they are developing, how many microservices they should be implemented when it comes to deploy an application and so on. So to me, the final word is coming from the telcos, because what we are doing right now is working with all the different RAN vendors, trying to influence them as much as we can, but I think the final word is coming from operators.
Okay.
and they're going to ask for money, by the way, sorry. They're going to ask for money.
Final words from the operators. So I think what we can do to support this development track is basically to be a bit more vocal on that we actually see O-Cloud definitely as an independent component. So that's why we try to basically coin the term of having different components in O-RAN, in the O-RAN solution that are interchangeable or exchangeable. And be vocal on this also when it comes to RFPs, RFQs. So that is, I think, where I see us in charge. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we're at the end of our session. I see a red blinking thing there. Thank you for listening. I think the next thing will be a coffee break, but I really thank you for joining me today on this stage and discussing O-Cloud and how open it is.